insufferable, Halliday. A mangy, thankless shedder of hair, and I will not tolerate being jammed inside his rank, tuna-riddled maw whenever the mood strikes. Phil, a.k.a. Hummingbird Assassin, is my ungrateful rescue. A scraggly orange and white short hair with ears the size of satellite dishes and a narrow face. I'm sure if he could talk, he'd tell you I should have left him out in the bitter, cold Maine night to starve and die, rather than give him a home where he's on the receiving end of plenty of food, vet visits, and all the love any one feline could ever dream of. In fact, if Phil could talk, he'd likely tell you he'd simply been resting when I happened upon him in a 4-foot-high snowbank, near frozen to death. He'd also tell you he needs nothing and no one, unless the mood strikes him. And it doesn't strike often, believe me. And if you need proof he needs no one, he didn't slink off as I shook my finger at him and threatened to sell him on eBay, the way I always do when he takes the opportunity to attempt to swallow Addie whole. Instead, he looked offended, but not at all ruffled as he lay sprawled in the middle of the pool of lights, his glassy green eyes narrowed, his bushy tail swishing wide circles of irritation. I set Addie on my shoulder and looked down at him with disapproval before rising and scooping up Phil to give him a big, wet smooch. His favorite. Not. Hugging him tight, more of his favorite, I whispered in his twitchy ear, "Phil, you know better. You absolutely cannot eat Addie. We're a family. Families don't dine on other family members. Comprende, mi amore?" Phil allowed me to kiss him one last time while he hung limp and probably disgusted in my arms before he began to squirm, which in cat speak meant, "Get off me, you stupid, useless human." As he sashayed away to wreak more havoc elsewhere in the house, leaving a trail of orange and white fluff in his wake, I went back to my decorating. Holding out my palm for Atticus, I waited until he hopped into it before I asked, "Are you okay, my friend?" If he had a nose he could wrinkle in disgusted distaste, I'm sure he would. Instead, he lifted his slender beak, his tiny black eyes glaring at me. "If smelling of canned salmon and spit is okay, then yes, I'm brilliant," he groused, his bass voice filled with his signature brand of testiness. I dropped a kiss on his head and stroked his tiny back, smoothing his ruffled feathers. "I'm sorry, but he's like a cute, fluffy ninja sometimes. I'm no match for his stealthy goodness. I sure can't keep up with him. Now, did he eat your Santa hat again? Am I going to have to clean up pieces of red and white furred vomit for days?" "I don't know why you insist I wear that thing, Halliday. It looks ridiculous on me. You deserve to clean up vomit for that alone," he scoffed, lifting off my hand to grab one end of the light scattered on the floor with his beak. I chuckled at him and adjusted my own Santa hat before grabbing the other end of the light string and following him to our enormous fireplace mantel. We wear them because it's fun and festive and puts us in the mood to Christmas up the joint. He flitted to the mantel and draped the string of lights across the grainy wood. "One would think you'd have enough of Christmas simply running just claws, and there's a light out on this strand." Addie's referring to my family's factory, where we make every kind of Christmas decoration you can imagine and then some. It was my grandparents' factory, passed down to my mother Kiva, and when my mother died unexpectedly, handed down to me. After living in New York for several years, I moved back home upon the news of my mother's death to handle her affairs, which also happened to ironically coincide with the day I caught my fiancé cheating on me red-handed. Man, had that been a butt-ugly awakening. I went looking for tea and sympathy from him, while he'd been looking to dive deep into... well, you get the picture. Anyhow, my ex Hugo doing me dirty was just the excuse I needed to stay here in Marshmallow Hollow where I was born and raised. With little family left to speak of who shared my DNA, other than the biological father and half-sister I only recently found out I have, I needed the comfort of the people who loved me and treated me as if I were their own to help me heal. That included Atticus, my best friend, Police Officer Stiles Fitzsimmons,